What's up, guys? Bobgar here, and it is $10 deck time again. This week we're looking at a $10 white-green Lifelink deck in Modern. It's pretty spicy. This was a deck that was suggested by NedStarksDad on Reddit, and he wanted a deck that featured Voracious Wurm, and I wanted to build a shell around that, which requires life gain, but it requires life gain that doesn't work in the typical life gain shell. Voracious Wurm enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. So he has potential to come in as a very big creature. The downside is, because of the way that's worded, it's not a stack-based effect, so he doesn't get to benefit from life gain that he triggers when he comes into play, which makes him worse in a Soul Sisters kind of build, where you're running Soul Warden and Soul Attendant, which gives you life whenever a creature enters the battlefield, because when he enters the battlefield, you will not gain the 2 life from Soul Sisters before those +1/+1 counters are applied. So anyway, we're going to move on to the actual cards. So we have a whole lot of dinky life gain creatures. Vault Skirge is probably our best 1-drop, and the fact that it is flying almost guarantees that it can swing in turn 2. I mean, certainly there are cases where it can't, and certainly it can get removed sometimes, but it doesn't get removed that much because people don't view it as that threatening, and yeah, a lot of times it can just get in turn 2 and get in some good damage. Sacred Cat is probably one of the worst cards in our deck. It might very well be the worst card in our deck. It's just a 1/1 lifelink for 1, but the fact that it has Embalm means we don't feel bad about chump blocking with it potentially, but hopefully not. Hopefully trading it with something bigger than it. And then the ways we make things like Sacred Cat trade with things bigger than it is we play effects like Bonesplitters. So we're playing 4 Bonesplitters in the main board. This is a equipment that gives creatures +2/+0, and it's especially good in this deck for a bunch of reasons. One, we have evasive creatures like Vault Skirge that you can strap it on, give it +2/+0, and we also have creatures like Sacred Cat with Embalm. As we're going to see in a little bit, we also have a lot of first strike creatures, and so buffing just the power is often enough. Alright, so our 2-drops. This is where it gets a little crazy. You'll notice that Voracious Wurm is not on this slide. That's because you don't really want to play him turn 2. You sometimes can get him up to being about a 5/5 turn 2 if you have a good draw, but it's not really where you want to be because you can make him a lot bigger at turn 3 usually. So usually you want to play one of these turn 2. Lone Rider is pretty awesome. I haven't gotten to showing it yet, but we run the life gain land Radiant Fountain. And so if you play a 1-drop life gain creature like Vault Skirge or Sacred Cat turn 1, manage to swing with it turn 2, and then play Sacred Fountain for your land turn 2, you can play Lone Rider and flip it in the same turn, and a flipped Lone Rider is a 4/4 first strike lifelink trample, which is a huge guy for 2 mana, and that has lifelink too, so, you know, like I said, turn 3 you can see what that would do to a Voracious Wurm, assuming you had him turn 3 and one of your other 1-drop life gain guys turn 3, swing in, you gain 5 life just from that. You can play Voracious Wurm as a 7/7 just from that without playing anything else. Glorybat Initiate is super cool. He's a 3/1 for 2, which is not a terrible rate. I mean, they're not great. I wouldn't play them if they're vanilla, but with the abilities that he has, he's pretty good. You can exert him, and he becomes a 4/4 lifelink. So a little similar to Lone Rider, he becomes a 4/4 lifelink on turn 3, which again helps us make a very big worm. He's a little easier to turn on in the sense that all you have to do is play him. Lone Rider you have to do some work and get a little lucky for, but he has a disadvantage too. He doesn't get first strike for one thing, but he also, if you give him the +1/+3 and lifelink, he doesn't untap during your next turn. So he is kind of a bursty life gain threat. That's what you want to do. You want to burst in a bunch of damage so you can make your Voracious Wurm really big. And then Ajani's Pridemate, we have so much incremental life gain that Ajani's Pridemate will often just get huge in this deck. If you play him turn 2, you'll swing with the 1/1 you played turn 1, gain life from that, and he'll become a 3/3 by turn 3, and you know that just keeps going up. So he's not the best turn 2 play, but he can be pretty good, and he can get big pretty quick in the deck. And then the turn 3 plays, there's really just 2 of them. Voracious Wurm is often what you want to do. You'll often be in a situation where you can play down anywhere between a 5/5 and a 9/9 Voracious Wurm turn 3, and if you can do that, that's probably what you want to be doing. And then play some of your other stuff like Bonesplitters and things like that. And then always watching is great. It gives all your guys vigilance, which means you can keep beating while staying back. It also means that when you exert Glorybat Initiate, it doesn't tap, which is super sweet. And also just makes all your creatures bigger, which helps your little 1/1 lifelinkers get in for more damage. And like I said, buffing guys helps a lot with first strike because you can kill your opponent's creatures before they do any damage to you. And then the other cards. So this is kind of a amalgamation of stuff that I just didn't fit into the first couple of slides. Rancor, probably should have been listed on the turn 2 play slides, but can be played really anywhere after turn 1. It's not a turn 1 play just because you have nothing to buff with at turn 1, but it basically works like a Bonesplitter, so you don't have to keep paying to re-equip, and you also get trample with it, which is really nice. So yeah, +2/+0 and trample, and then if Rancor goes to the bin from the battlefield, so if they kill the creature in response to playing it, it just goes to the graveyard. If they kill the creature after it's on them, the Rancor will come back to your hand and you can replay it for 1 mana. So super good in aggressive decks, makes our guys super powerful. Like I said, works really well with Lifelink. Blessed Alliance is our removal of choice in the deck. It is a little bit of a wonky removal. We can't just use it as spot removal against combo decks, which is definitely a big drawback. It is instant speed, which is nice, and it has some nice things on it. In addition to making a target opponent sacrifice an attacking creature, you can also make yourself gain 4 life or untap up to 2 creatures. The untap ability can be used to untap your exerted Glorybound Initiate, so he can swing in again. But the big reason we're running it is the +4 life, which combos well with Lone Rider and obviously some of the other cards in the deck. It also combos well with this final card that we're running as a 2 of. This is kind of just a hedge in slightly grindy matchups. I don't think we're ever going to win against control, but Angelic Accord is an enchantment for 4 mana. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained 4 or more life this turn, put in a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So it's just a kind of payoff card, another synergy with the life gain that we're already doing, and getting 4 life for us is pretty easy. I mean, if we're really desperate to put out a 4/4, we can just Blessed Alliance and get one off Angelic Accord, or, you know, if we have 4 mana, we can Blessed Alliance, kill their creature, gain 4 life, and get an angel, which is pretty sweet. And, I mean, we have a bunch of things that just swing for 4 lifelink, right? We have a flipped Lone Rider swings for 4 lifelink just by himself, and also a Glorybound Initiate exerted swings for 4 lifelink on his own. So this can be a pretty good engine card just from that. And then obviously you can get up to 4 life gained from other things, just like putting a Rancor and a Bonesplitters on a Vault Skirge, or, you know, one of those two, and having always watching out, and Vault Skirge swings for 4. So yeah, you can get to 4 pretty easily. Alright, that's pretty much the main deck. That's how it works. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, it's a very aggressive shell. It's a little bit slower than some other aggressive shells, but it has a lot of ability to out-survive other very aggressive shells because of all the life gain you're getting kind of on the side. Then lands. Lands are a little awkward in the deck. We are going 10 plains, 4 forest. This is probably about the right split. We don't have very many green cards, just Rancor and Voracious Wurm, and then 4 Sunpetal Grove, which taps for either. And then 3 Radiant Fountains. Radiant Fountains are great just because they gain us 2 life, and we can afford to play them. And yeah, that makes our Voracious Wurms come in bigger, and it makes it easier to flip our Lone Riders. And those are the 2 big reasons to do it. Occasionally it might help our Angelic Accord, and obviously it also pumps our Pridemates, but mostly for those first 2. And then after lands, we get to sideboard. Pretty typical sideboard in white for me. 3 Ghost Quarters against Tron, 3 Tormod's Crypt against Graveyard decks. I felt we were a little light on removal, so I went with 2 Condemn. It does have a similar problem to the other removal we're running, where you can only use it on attacking creatures. So if our opponent's creatures aren't attacking or don't need to attack, if they're combo-y creatures, it's going to put us at a big disadvantage, but I wanted a little bit more removal in there. Very good against things like Death Shadow, especially because it gains them life, so you can, like, kill their Tarmogoyf, gain them 5 life. Kill their Death Shadows because they drop to -3, -3s, you know, things like that. Fragmentize, destroy artifacts and enchantments with convenient mana cost 4 or less. Comes in any matchup where that's relevant. Affinity, Lantern Control. Sometimes Tron, it might be worth it against Tron. It doesn't hit Wormcoil Engine, but Tron is kind of probably a bad matchup, so it might just be worth putting it in on the off chance that you can hit a map with it or something like that. 2 Oblivion Ring just hits everything, kind of our answer to Planeswalkers. And then 2 Timely Reinforcements. It's a little bit of a weird one from our deck since we'll usually be the person with more creatures out. But if we're not, it's really nice. And the fact that it both gives us a whole bunch of creatures and gains us 6 life is exactly where the deck wants to be when we need it. So that's the whole deck. This is the price. $11.38 is what it's listed at. That's with the sideboard. Without the sideboard, it's just almost exactly 10. Only 55 in paper, which is pretty good for paper price. Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's really good. And then we need to talk about matchups real quick. I wanted to make a matchup slide. So this week we're actually taking 2 user suggestions. In addition to taking NedStarksDad's suggestion to build a deck around Voracious Wurm, we're also taking ducktoduck suggestion, and we're going to run this deck through a league. Is that a good idea? I'm still not sure. It's going to cost me $8, and I'm pretty sure the deck's going to go 1-4 in the league. But hopefully we'll have fun doing it, and hopefully we'll learn something. I wanted to, given that we're going through a league, really, I wanted to do a breakdown of what I thought our good matchups were, what I thought our bad matchups were, and yeah, how I think things will go down. So, if we run into Burn, I think we have a very good chance against Burn. That's not too surprising. Life gain decks in general have a very good chance against Burn. We're going to put out pretty big creatures. They don't have that much removal that they're going to want to use on creatures, and I think the Lifelink will just push us over the top and keep us in those games until we can win. Lava Spike, for instance, is not a very good card against us. If they Lava Spike us and then we gain that back with 1 Glory Bound Initiate swing or 1 Flip Load Rider swing. So Wild Nicodle decks, like creature heavy decks, I feel kind of similar just because I think we'll be able to outlast them with our life gain, and First Strike also tends to be pretty good against those decks because it makes combat very tricky for them. Always Watching also isn't bad. So I think decks that are relying on a lot of that stuff, we also probably have a relatively good matchup against. And then we get into ones that are just terrible matchups. Control, I just don't think we have any reasonable chance against any control deck with sweepers. If they don't have sweepers, we have, an okay chance. We can just get a really good draw and, kill them on turn 3 or 4 if their draw is a little awkward. But if they're playing a control deck with Supreme Verdicts and Angers of the Gods, if they draw those cards, we basically are going to lose. We have a little bit of life in the fact that we can bring back Sacred Cat, but that's not a lot. And we do tend to burn through our cards pretty quickly. And then other bad matchups, Combo and Big Mana are both kind of in the same state where they both are just going to run us over if they get out. We do not have an instant way to deal with creatures, so things like Kiki Jiki or Saheeli Rai combo that I've seen a little bit lately, or any of those combo decks, the Infinite Mana deck that's running around now with Devoted Druid, those will probably wreck us. Likewise, I put in Yujin here, who I guess is technically another sweeper, but really any of the Tron decks that are just like rushing out super big threats. I don't think we're going to be able to keep up. I don't think we're fast enough to kill them before they get those big threats out, and once they get those big threats out, I think we will probably lose those games. And then the mid-rangey, grindy decks, things like Liliana and Tarmogoyfs, man, I feel like we don't have a great matchup against them, but it's a little hard to tell. If we can get a 7/7 Worm out, we're pretty good. But if they just remove all our threats and then pop down Liliana, we might just get buried behind on discard and creature kills and not be able to do much. Like, we don't have a very good answer for Dark Confidant because Dark Confidant doesn't attack in very much, and if he doesn't attack in, then we can't kill him with any of our removal spells. So, except for Oblivion Ring, I guess. So yeah, those are the matchups. That's the deck for the week. I'm gonna try it in a league. This time I'm recording this without actually playing it in a league at all. I just played, I don't know, 4 or 5 test matches while I was tuning it. We won a couple of them. My prediction is 2-3, but I could easily see going 0-5 or 1-4, and I could also easily see going 3-2 if we happen to get good matchups. I don't think this is a 1-4 or 5-0 deck, but I think it is a really fun deck. It's been really enjoyable to play, and it definitely surprises people. I had at least one person go, "Man, that's a really cool deck," and I remember another time he said turn 3, "Please don't play a 7/7 Worm." Which was funny because I actually had the ability to play a 9/9 Worm then. I actually had a different line that I thought was better, but I went with the other line. But I thought it was pretty funny that he was like, "Oh God, don't do it to me again." But yeah, the deck is sweet, even if it's not good. I hope you enjoy the games, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, Bobgar here. I just really wanted to quickly say, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you enjoy my content in general and would like to see more of it, subscribe. I'll be coming out with more content in the future. And please leave me comments and let me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, both in terms of production and in terms of my play and my deck building and all that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time.